to the stereotype that Asians are bad drivers. Now, are they actually bad drivers? I don't know. They're probably not any worse than anybody else. But if you believe that, you just happen to believe it. Doesn't mean that you're racist or ethnocentric against Asians. And so I would say that anti-Semitism is a hatred of Jews.
Okay, the reason I'm going to make a distinction here.
Again, he will not let Matt Walsh get out his full thought. We have yet another instance being exposed of Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro kind of feuding a little bit, and Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, mainly Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Brewing, trying to silence Matt Walsh and his opinions. The only difference between Matt Walsh and Candace Owens, in my opinion, is that Matt Walsh was willing to conform to Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire's beliefs and the narrative that they want to push a bit when it comes to the Middle East and, Ben Shapiro's favorite country over there. But it seems like Matt Walsh is trying to put his 2 cents in over and over again. And Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire just will not let him. I played this clip before in one of my past videos that I'll show you really quick just to remind you. And then we have a brand new clip coming out. Basically the same thing happening where Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Brewing shut down Matt Walsh when he tries to give his own opinion on the Middle East and Israel.
Israel or something like that. Yeah. Right. This idea that it is your patriotic duty to have this particular feeling about another country, no matter what the other country is. I don't care what country it is. So that goes too far on that side of it, and I think they're kind of reacting. It's kind of what you're saying.
Yep.
They're reacting to that.
I do think. I do think that there is something patriotic about.
Yeah, like he gets immediately cut off whenever he's saying that he doesn't think it's a patriotic duty of yours to support any other country, whether that's a country in the Middle East, whether that's Ukraine, Russia. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. It shouldn't be an obligation for you to be a patriot. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to support another country outside of America in order for you to be patriotic, considered patriotic. And of course, Jeremy Brewing cuts him off there before he can get that complete thought out, because that's not the narrative that the Daily Wire wants to put out there. And we also have another clip that just recently came out a couple of days ago of this same exact thing happening yet again, this time even worse in my opinion. Let's check out this clip here from another episode of this backstage show that the Daily Wire does, where Matt Walsh cannot get his opinions out because they're not the official narrative that the Daily Wire wants to put out there.
What do you make of big right-wing Twitter accounts starting to blame Jews for everything?
They're all on my feed. So
oh yeah,
Drew's leading them.
That's what I like is that they hate Jews for making money, so they hate them for being capitalists. They hate them for being socialists. It's like you can't win whatever the Jews do.
Generally,
yeah.
I mean, anti-Semitism. To give a definition. Anti-Semitism is a conspiracy theory about the power of the Jew in society. Whatever you hate most in society, the Jew is behind it. It is why it is distinct in definition from other forms of discrimination. Doesn't mean it's better, doesn't mean it's worse. It is distinct, because it is a distinct phenomenon. Again, not better, not more important, not worse, just distinct. Okay, the reason that you see right-wing Twitter accounts that are now doing this crap is because the right wing does now have a grievance mentality. Part of that grievance mentality has been justified by the institutional dominance of the left and right-wingers who rightly feel that they have been ground under the boot heel of a culture that dispossesses particularly white Christian males. All of that is true, but this has resulted in a quasi-intersectional philosophy wherein white Christian males are at the bottom of the intersectional hierarchy and those who are quote-unquote most successful in the society are to blame, which is identical to left-wing intersectional philosophy. The only difference is who they think is at the bottom of the intersectional hierarchy and who's at the top of the intersectional hierarchy. And so grievance culture comes all the way around. The only thing that the intersectional leftists and the right-wing anti-Semites agree on is that at the top of the hierarchy is the Jews, because the Jews are disproportionately successful.
You see, I actually don't completely disagree with Ben Shapiro here. I think he has a decent point. And I don't say that very often. If you know me and my history with covering the Ben Shapiro situation that's been happening recently, the whole Daily Wire versus Candace Owens stuff, I don't agree with many things that Ben Shapiro has been saying recently, but this is one of those things that I have to agree with. I think that a lot of people just, like he's saying, they just want to blame someone for their mediocrity or their failures. And a lot of people have been blaming, Ben Shapiro's favorite people for their failures and mediocrity. And I think it is becoming somewhat of a sport for them as well. Now, there's no questioning that certain, you could say that certain intelligence of Ben Shapiro's favorite country has been involved in, certain terrorist attacks or something like that. That's up to, that's up to question. It's up to interpretation. Not really, but you know what I'm saying? I can't say it. I can't say what I want to say, but you know what I'm trying to say. That's one thing, but blaming a group of people for your struggles and your mediocrity, your failures, that's just lazy. That's just lame, in my opinion, whether that's coming from the left and blaming, white straight males for their, being oppressed, and that's why they can't find a job, and that's why they're on child support for their seven children with 7 different men, and they're also on food stamps and all that stuff. That's one thing. And then blaming the right wingers and the Christians out there who blame Ben Shapiro's favorite people for their downfalls and mediocrity is not much different from those people. So I can somewhat agree with what Ben Shapiro is trying to say here, but I do think there's also a group of people that's very, very large that's just seeing the hypocrisy in people like Ben Shapiro who claim to be America first, and then their actions just say completely different. And not just the words that's coming out of his mouth, his actions, his firing of Candace Owens says completely different, That's my biggest thing. My biggest thing isn't, it's Ben Shapiro's favorite people that's ruining my whole life, and that's why, I'll never get anywhere in life because they're just trying to oppress us, and they run all of the institutions that have contributed to the downfall of Western society. I don't really care about that. Yeah, I'm going to win regardless of who's president, regardless of who's running the world. If it's Ben Shapiro's favorite people, if it's if it's Christians, whoever it is, I'm going to win regardless. Like that's my mindset on it. I don't care. What I more care about is the fact that Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire are lying to people's faces and shutting down opinions like Candace Owens and Matt Walsh's, who are actually America first. And then they claim America first, and they make money off the other people who are too naive to see that they aren't America first. And now they're starting to wake up to the fact that they are not America first. Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro are not. That's really where my qualm with the whole thing is. I don't agree with the grievance culture or whatever he called it either. So I have to agree with what Ben Shapiro said there.
Successful. The thing is, the intersectional hierarchy, they think that the Jews are white, so they're disproportionately successful. And the white supremacists and the alt-righters and the anti-Semites think that the Jews hate white people, and therefore they're at the top of the intersectional hierarchy. But they all seem to agree.
So that's power. You're at the top of both hierarchies.
That's the famous joke about the Jew in 1930.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
39, who walks past the other Jew sitting on the park bench reading Der Stürmer, and he says to him, "Why are you reading Der Stürmer?" He says, "Look how much good news there is in here. We run the banks." We run the
I have to say that I do not agree with this thing about the source of anti-Semitism. It is a religious thing. It is because if you go back and see pre-Nazis.
For some context, this idiot talking right here, talking about how anti-Semitism is a religious thing, he thinks that Candace Owens saying Christ is king is anti-Semitic. So that's some context for you there. This guy, I believe, is supposed to be a Christian, Andrew Klavan. I believe he's a Christian, if I'm not mistaken. And if saying Christ is king is anti-Ben Shapiro's favorite people, well, you just being a Christian is anti-Ben Shapiro's favorite people as well, because you believe Christ is king, bro. Like, I don't understand how Candace Owens saying Christ is king is anti-Ben Shapiro's people, but you being a Christian and open about it, or Michael Knowles, who's sitting across from you right now being a Christian, or Matt Walsh, who's right next to you being a Christian, or Jeremy Boring, who claims that he's also a Christian, how are their existence not anti-Ben Shapiro's favorite people? If saying Christ is king is that, then just being a Christian and just existing as a Christian is also anti-Ben Shapiro's favorite people, because you all, if you are a Christian, believe that Christ is king, So that's just some context on the nonsense that's about to come out of this guy's mouth real quick.
Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, all these guys were saying this weird religion, Christianity, has come in and stolen our true German values, and it's all the fault of the Jew. That is what they say. They say Christianity is against our nature. The blood of the Germans, the Aryan blood is running in our veins. It's all the fault of the Jew who sold us Christianity. And that's why the thing survives as long as it does. And it is worse than other forms of bigotry, because it's a bigotry against God. It is bigotry against God. And just one other thing I have to say is that, as far as I'm concerned, the Jews aren't powerful enough. my biggest problem with the order,
I don't like this guy at all. I really don't like him. I mean, it's very obvious he's trying to appeal to Ben Shapiro and keep getting those paychecks coming in. How much, I don't say this in a derogatory way or anything. I don't mean any harm by the statement, but how much more power could they possibly have? They're a very powerful group of people. How much more power can they have? Let's see what he's about to say, but that's a wild statement.
Elders of Zion thing is that it's a forgery. I don't understand. Where are the Jews? Why do they make things run better?
Well, I mean, we did use our space laser on Raisi's helicopter.
On the
That was
one,
good.
but you
I
missed the other
appreciate
two.
that, yeah.
Right.
Intentionally.
Well, we aren't like, we don't hit every time.
I will say, I take a.
Hold on. I didn't catch that the first time. Watch Ben Shapiro's face change when Matt Walsh starts talking. You can tell there's something going on here. I swear I'm not reaching. Let me know in the comments if I'm reaching. I swear I'm not. There's something going on here. Watch Ben Shapiro's face change from a smile to pissed off as soon as Matt Walsh starts talking here.
Like, we don't hit every time.
Watch closely.
I will say, I take a.
He immediately goes to frowning, immediately pissed off. Let's check out what Matt Walsh has to say here.
I take a more limited and simpler view of anti-Semitism, in that I would classify it like any other bigotry, racism. Of course, racism is a big one. If you're an anti-black racist, it's because you hate black people. You think that black people are inferior in some way. And if that's what you think about black people, then you're racist. Now, you might not hate black people, but have other views about black people, some stereotypical views even. And some of those views might even be like insulting, but it doesn't automatically make you a racist.
That's true.
Or the example I give is like, let's say Asians. You might not hate Asians. However, you might subscribe to the
Stereotypical.
to the stereotype that Asians are bad drivers. Now, are they actually bad drivers? I don't know. They're probably not any worse than anybody else. But if you believe that, you just happen to believe it, doesn't mean that you're racist or ethnocentric against Asians. And so I would say that anti-Semitism is a hatred of Jews.
Okay, the reason I'm going to make a distinction here.
Again, he will not let Matt Walsh get out his full thought. And you can see the look on Matt Walsh's face when Ben Shapiro starts talking. He's like, really, dude? Like, I can't say one complete sentence about this topic? Ben Shapiro just has to make sure that Matt Walsh is in line. And I mean, obviously, Andrew Klavan, nobody needs to make sure he's in line. That guy is all the way up Ben's ass, like all the way. He's, I don't even want to go into that guy. I don't like him at all.
No one ever says, I hate blacks because they're too powerful. That's generally not a thing. For literally hundreds of years, blacks were hated when they were slaves and not powerful. When it comes
They're
to
viewed as less than.
Right. When it comes to Jews, the reason that anti-Semitism has so often resulted in anti-Jewish pogroms and violence, and this is going back centuries, I mean, this is nothing new. The reason is because when you perceive a group as unjustifiably powerful, typically that means that you're going to drag them in the streets and kill them. And so when
the Russians, they weren't powerful in Russia when the Cossacks came into their little village.
No, wrong. So if you go back to the history of the Lithuanian-Polish Commonwealth.
And by the way, I mean, personally, I don't have a problem with any certain group of people holding power. And I don't think most rational thinkers out there who have been going against what Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire have been saying recently, I don't believe most of you have an issue with that either. Like, those people who have an issue just with people who have money and power, those are socialists. Those are people who watch Hassan Piker. Like, that's not the kind of people I want to be associated with. I don't understand that anyway. I'm more concerned with what do you do with the power. And if it's mostly a net negative for society, what you do with that power, well, then that's a problem. That's just straight up a problem. It's very obvious. So I don't think that what Ben Shapiro is saying there is true, that people just don't like his favorite group of people because they hold power. Maybe there's some people out there, that's what leftists think about straight white males, right? And there's probably a lot of people out there on the right that think that too. But that's not what I think. And I don't think that's what most people who watch these videos think. And let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that.
Yeah.
Second callback.
Second callback,
If you go
one
back,
show.
then the claim of the Cossacks was that the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was dominated at the top levels by merchant Jews.
All right, there's also another point in here where Matt Walsh tries to speak again. And guess what happens to Matt Walsh whenever he tries to give his opinion again? Because I don't really care about Ben Shapiro's little history lesson and trying to prove his own points. I think Ben Shapiro's in a spot where he's trying to prove his ideas are correct rather than gathering the information and then forming his opinion around that. He has his opinion already made, and now he's just, he's just trying to gather info about history and stuff like that to prove that his opinion is correct. Matt Walsh tries to challenge him again and gets shut down again.
Always due to the group. Now, you're right that with Jews or with Catholics in this example, they're accused of being too powerful. But what's really happening there is that they're being blamed for whatever happens to be going wrong in society. And I would argue that when people are bigoted against the group, they tend to find a way to blame that group in some way for the problems in society.
So that's an argument for better.
Let me just finish.
By the way,
that's a better definition of racism than what you were giving before. I don't.
He's trying his best to say, wait, let me finish. And Ben Shapiro just won't let him finish. There's something going on here. Maybe I'm reaching, maybe I'm not. But I mean, this is not the first clip and probably not the last clip, unless Matt Walsh gets fired from the Daily Wire, that we'll see about this. You know, I keep seeing these clips pop up. I keep making videos on this where Matt Walsh is getting shut down by Ben Shapiro and the other members of the Daily Wire whenever he tries to give opinions on this topic. And it's because he doesn't agree. And notice how Michael Knowles is quiet most of the time because he doesn't agree either. Andrew Klavan does most of the talking because he's up Ben Shapiro's butt the whole time. He's up Ben Shapiro and Ben Shapiro's favorite people's butt the entire time. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this Matt Walsh versus Ben Shapiro possible situation. I don't know for a fact, but it seems like something's brewing there. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this whole Daily Wire situation.